There's a lid for every pot. It's another one.
It is time right now for Consumer Confidential with David Lazarus.
He joins us live from, not his office, Loop in the cat's office. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm afraid the little guy's on the floor here, but he's
he?
not coming up into camera view. So
Kitty,
We've got some time.
We do. All right.
okay, we'll see if he comes around.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's get into it. This week, the tech world has been buzzing about Elon Musk's attempt to buy Twitter. The company is fighting the purchase. For those who don't know, tell us, how did we get here?
Yeah, in a nutshell, Elon Musk, who is a big user of Twitter, he's got like 80 million followers, made a $43 billion hostile takeover attempt of the company, basically saying, I want this, I will pay $54 a share for the company, and Twitter responded by saying, yeah, I don't think so. So even though Musk is one of the largest shareholders with over 9% of the shares, Twitter yesterday announced what's known as a poison pill, or a shareholder rights plan, that basically makes it prohibitively way too expensive for any hostile raider to try to take control of the company. In essence, what Twitter is saying is, if Musk takes a stake of over 15% of the company, which he could, then Twitter will flood the market with more shares, basically offering shares to everybody who's not named Elon Musk at a discount, so that there will be more shares in circulation, thus diluting Elon Musk's clout, diluting his shareholding, and making it way more expensive for him to purchase up everybody else's stock. Now, this is what's known as a poison pill. It's been around since the 1980s, which was the era of corporate raiders. It became very common at that time. It's become less common in recent years because most businesses understand that if they make a hostile takeover attempt, they'll face a poison pill. So they don't do it very often. A few years ago, we saw Papa John's do a poison pill. About a decade ago, Netflix did it. Shortly after them, Men's Warehouse did it. But other than that, you don't see it a lot. But then again, with Elon Musk, everything's different because there's no rules.
Well, I mean, he does have to play by some rules. He's regulated by the SEC. But David, I mean, you're a smart guy. Does this seem fair to you? I know people don't like Elon Musk's politics, but it seems like it's a publicly traded company. He has the money. I mean, believe it or not, he's worth $300 billion. Should he not have the right to buy a publicly traded company if it's a publicly traded company?
You know, I think you're asking the wrong question. What you seem to be asking is, should Attila the Hun be allowed to attack the village? Well, of course Attila the Hun can attack the village because he's Attila the Hun. He's a barbarian. He does that. The question here is, does the village have a right to defend itself? That's the key thing here. Musk can do whatever he pleases. He's very rich. He's got a lot of money. The question here is Twitter behaving in a manner that is conducive to the fiduciary interests of its shareholders by throwing up the poison pill? And Twitter can argue, probably correctly, that Elon Musk does not represent an advance for the company, that in fact, he, being such a chaos agent, he could be harmful to the company, harmful to shareholders. They can point to some of his past trespasses with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they're doing this. And at the same time, Twitter has made it very clear that if any other interested party wants to make an offer for the company, they're open to it. And there are reports that some private equity firms also might be circling.
But David, the stock price for Twitter is what, in the mid-40s, and he offered $10 over that. So he's already giving the shareholders a profit. So how would he be impacting shareholders negatively based on the fact that he offered $10 more a share? Keep in mind his track record too. I think Tesla is a pretty highly valuable company. He seems to know how to run businesses.
Well, we could talk about that another time, but the question here is the premium that he gave with that $54 a share offer fair value? Twitter's stock was worth more than that a year ago. So it could be argued that no, the board is correct to say that the company is worth more than this amount, but the board also has to take a longer view. Is it in the best interest of Twitter to bring on this person and allow him to take the company private and basically do what he wants? And that's an open question here. There's been a revolt among Twitter workers who say, I don't want to work for that guy. We've worked very hard to try and create something like a neutral platform that doesn't have hate speech, that doesn't have dishonesty in it, and now you want to bring in somebody who wants to perhaps throw all that hard work out the window. The CEO of Twitter has had to have multiple meetings with the staff to try to say, calm down, we're going to work through this. So it seems like it's not necessarily in Twitter's best interest. And that's the key question here from the board's point of view. It's not about just the money, it's about the company's future. And clearly this board has decided that this hostile takeover is not in the company's best interest.
I think we're at a truce here.
Yeah.
I think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree, maybe. I don't know.
No, I'd say I kind of wiped the floor with you.
I know.
But that's
Oh
another
my
way of
gosh,
looking
not
at
at
it.
all. You called him barbaric. I mean, if we're gonna, I mean, look, you have to make your employees happy, obviously, but they don't own the company. He does. He owns 10% of it. He wants to get 15% of it, and if you work for a publicly traded company, that's the risk you take doing so. So what about like the users of Twitter? Are we happy using Twitter the way that we are? I don't know if everyone is, but I think
I couldn't speak. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people, so I couldn't speak for all of them, and certainly I think we are all entitled to our own opinions of Elon Musk. That's neither here nor there. The question here is, did the offer he make represent a positive change for the company and the board of directors, including Jack Dorsey, the co-founder, who is a friend of Elon Musk? They looked at that offer and said, no, we don't like that. That's not in the best interest. Now, they could be basically trying to make Musk put up more money. That's a very common situation here. Or they could be trying to chase him away. What the board is saying to Musk very explicitly is, we're going to make terms that are too expensive for you, but if you want to talk to us, we're listening.
We'll have to continue the discussion some other time.
Yes.
But David, it's always such a
air.
pleasure speaking with you in such a civil manner, of course. Thank you.
Of course.